Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is currently running into important support, while Ethereum is continuing the short-term break to the downside, but this could change very soon with the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, which I'll talk about in just a moment, so definitely stick around. First of all, talking about the FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, happening today. In fact, it will be happening at exactly 6 p.m. in the GMT time zone on the 26th of July, obviously today. And based on market expectations, the Federal Reserve is potentially about to raise interest rates by 0.25%, also known as 25 basis points. And if we're taking a look at what the futures market is currently pricing in, this is completely priced in a 25 basis point hike, which means if the Federal Reserve raises interest rate, which is set to happen very soon in just a matter of hours from the time of recording this video, then if that happens, we shouldn't really see too much volatility, at least initially in the market, but we could end up seeing a little bit more volatility based on what the Fed chair says, Jerome Powell, in the Fed press conference, which happens around half an hour after the new numbers get released. So as always, I'll be covering all of this. I'll be tweeting out the new numbers as soon as they get released over on Twitter, which is kind of X right now. And so if you don't follow me over there, make sure you're doing that. The link is down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But anyway, just quickly reminding you about the outcomes. If we do not see a 25 basis point hike and instead the Federal Reserve keeps interest rates the same, so we see no change in interest rates, then if that happens, we would likely see a move back to the upside across the markets. That would be bullish for markets. But on the other hand, if the Federal Reserve actually raises interest rates by 50 basis points, which means raising interest rates by 0.5%, then in that scenario, we would likely see a dump across the markets because barely anyone is pricing in that. And in case you're wondering about future Fed meetings, the one after the one today is happening in September. And as of right now, based on what the majority in the market is currently pricing in, if we see a 25 basis point hike today, then we will likely see no more rate hikes after today's rate hike, simply based on the current market probabilities. And so essentially, today might be the last 25 basis point hike in interest rates before a large pause in interest rates, meaning keeping interest rates the same for multiple months, and then potentially entering into early 2024, we should potentially start to see rate cuts, meaning interest rates coming back to the downside, simply based on the current market probabilities and what the market is currently pricing in. But obviously, between now and then, these probabilities can change based on factors like inflation, for example. But just bringing it back to today, once again, we should be expecting a 25 basis point hike as the most likely scenario, considering that's pretty much completely priced into the market. But once again, even if we get that expected outcome, we could still see some short-term volatility based on what Jerome Powell says in the press conference just after we get the new numbers. So once again, I will be covering all of this live as soon as it happens over on my Twitter, link down below in this video. And now, just before getting into the charts, first quickly reminding you that the World Series of Trading is open for registration right now. And this year, there is a total prize pool of up to 8 million USDT. And on top of that, there's also a brand new Lamborghini Huracan and multiple Rolex watches to be won in this competition. And so if you trade crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. And as always, for the third year in a row now, I am hosting an official cryptoworld team in this competition. And basically how this works is if the cryptoworld team places well in the competition, then all of the team members in the cryptoworld team, which could be any of you if you decide to join my team, can potentially win a share in this massive prize pool if our team places well. And the more people join our team, the better our chances are at actually placing well in the competition. So once again, if you trade crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. And I'll make sure to leave a link to this page right here where you can join the cryptoworld team if you want to in the description down below. In fact, it'll be the first link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But anyway, now getting into the Bitcoin part of this video. This is on the 4-day Bitcoin chart. And once again, as of right now, the Bitcoin price is still within a larger multi-month long bullish bullish trend. So despite the current short-term pullback, of course, the larger trend is still technically the same. We're still forming larger, higher lows and higher highs, which is obviously the complete opposite to what we saw during that previous 2022 bear market. But if you're zooming into the daily Bitcoin chart, obviously just recently we have seen a bit more of a rejection from this strong resistance sitting closer towards around 31,000. And on top of that, obviously there has been a bearish divergence playing out for nearly the last 1.5 to 2 weeks now, which once again means we should not really be expecting a lot of bullish momentum in the imminent short term, and instead we're likely going to see either some choppy sideways price action or potentially a slight pullback, pretty much like what we've seen over the last 1 to 2 weeks as expected. And now, while the daily Bitcoin RSI is continuing this trend to the downside, basically while this is happening, the bearish divergence remains active on the chart. So once again, we should not be expecting a lot of bullish momentum again until we start to see more of a reversal in the RSI. For example, higher lows and higher highs beginning to form again, which could also potentially form a bullish divergence if we form higher lows alongside lower lows in the price. And obviously, if we see other signals like a breakout in the RSI above this descending line of resistance or a breakout in the price above this resistance, obviously all of those signals can help to invalidate this previous bearish divergence. But at least for now, this is still currently active. And if you're looking at the daily Bitcoin MACD, this is also still looking more bearish than bullish. So at least for now, once again, we should not really be expecting a lot of bullish momentum in the imminent short term. And now, if you're zooming into a smaller time frame, taking a look at the 8-hour Bitcoin chart right now, as I recorded in this video, and as I mentioned in my last video, the price of Bitcoin is currently running into this important Fibonacci level of support, which is the 38.2% Fibonacci level, sitting at around 28.9k. And so at least for now, that is the important support to pay attention to. But if that level breaks, then I would expect a drop down towards around 28,000 to 28.1k, which is the 50% retracement level. And below that is the golden pocket area of support in between around 27,000 to 27.2k. But once again, as I said towards the beginning of this video, depending on the outcome of the Federal Reserve rate decision and also the Federal Reserve press conference, that can influence markets in the short term. So for example, if we see no rate hike, once again, that would mean likely a larger bounce back to the upside. But if we see a 50 basis point hike, then we would likely break this support and start heading towards the next levels of support. But as I said earlier, once again, even if we get the expected outcome of a 25 basis point hike, initially we should not really be seeing a lot of volatility, but we could still see some short-term volatility based around the press conference, which once again, I will be covering live on my Twitter. And now, if you're zooming into a smaller time frame, taking a look at the 2-hour Bitcoin chart, right now, this bearish flag pattern is technically still active, because in order to invalidate this previous bearish flag pattern, we would need to see a confirmed breakout back above this level, which is sitting at around 29.7k. And so if that happens, once again, that would invalidate this bearish flag pattern and invalidate this price target to the downside. But even if that happens, obviously we would still have some resistance to the upside again. And these levels of resistance to watch out for are, first of all, sitting at around 29.7k. Once again, that should now be acting as new resistance because we have broken to the downside below that level. But if we actually break back above 29.7k, then in that case, next I would expect resistance at around 30.3k to 30.4k. And the technical price targets for this bear flag pattern is still sitting close to 28,500. And so once again, that is still active on the chart, which from the current price at the time of recording this video is around a 2% drop in the price of Bitcoin. But remember, as I said earlier, the upcoming Fed meeting could heavily impact the short-term prices. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart. And right now, the price of ETH is still trading slightly above this important area of support, sitting in between around 1770 to 1820. And as for the daily Ethereum price oscillators, right now, these are still looking relatively neutral because, first of all, the RSI is still essentially chopping around sideways. But if this confirms a lower high, then considering it already has confirmed a lower low. Obviously, in that scenario, it would start to flip more bearish again. And something similar can be said about the MACD, even though as of right now, it is not showing a lot of momentum. But if the MACD does continue in the trend that it's currently on, then potentially it could build up more bearish momentum if we stay in the current trajectory. But at least for now, at the time of recording this video, once again, we have limited momentum in the short term, meaning we should not really be expecting a massive crash, at least for now. And now, if you're zooming into the 6-hour ETH to US dollar chart, once again, the price of ETH has already confirmed a break below this ascending line of support, which was sitting at around 1890 and is now sitting at around 1.9k. So at least in the short term, if we actually see a bounce back to the upside, let's just say if we have a positive Fed meeting and bounce back to the upside, then that should now be acting as a new resistance. And as for other levels of support and resistance, taking a look at the 6-hour chart, once again, looking at the Fibonacci retracement tool, we have the 50% retracement level acting as support, sitting at around 1820 to 1830. And below that, if that level breaks, then we have the golden pocket area of support in between around 1760 to 1770 approximately. And as for short-term resistance, we could find some resistance at around 1870. Above that, once again, 1.9k would be acting as resistance. And above that, we could also find some resistance at around 1930. And as for the shorter-term trend at play, obviously, we're technically looking more bearish than bullish as of right now when you're talking about just the shorter term here, as I've already been saying over the last few days. But remember, as I said earlier, the upcoming Fed meeting happening very soon could potentially change this short-term trend depending on the outcome, which I will be covering in real time over on my Twitter. And now, if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around it sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish using AI, and the video in the bottom left shows you how to make money in a choppy sideways price range. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.